Yo, what's up, everybody? It's We Talking About Sports. It's week 3. We're here with the On the Wire episode. It's Tuesday, so you guys are about to put in those waiver wire bids. If you guys are playing Fab, you guys are just playing your normal, waiver wire bid system where you get your first bid based on the record or what have you. It's an important week. There's been injuries across the league. Scoring is down across the league. Only 69 touchdowns through 2 weeks. So, passing touchdowns through 2 weeks. So, quarterback scoring is down across the league. A lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk about it, or I should say, I'm going to talk about it here tonight with you guys. Hopefully, you guys are having a good week. Again, like I said, favorites across the league go down. Scoring down in general, and injuries across the league. So a lot to talk about. Gonna get into it here. Gonna give some people a few seconds here to join in. Again, if anybody was betting favorites, this is the third time I've said this. Dallas -6, Philly -5, San Fran, Detroit, and Baltimore all go down outright. So if you had them in any plays, any parlays, any teasers, bad week for all of that, because all those favorites that I just mentioned, Dallas, Philly, San Fran, Detroit, and Baltimore, all lost outright. So if you guys were involved in any of those games, even Survivor was a big week. So a lot already happening here in week 3. But first of all, we're going to get to it as it pertains to the waiver wire. And what we have going on here first is the injuries that I just mentioned. Week 2 was a massive week for injuries. Some of these popped up before the game. In the case of AJ Brown, we talked about it in the injury report section and then announced that he was going to be out as the news broke there on Sunday morning. AJ Brown right there in the middle of the screen. Hamstring sprain, going to be out a couple of weeks. A little vague when you think about it, but not such a bad thing. You never want to see the IR designation around him or around any player, rather, as you see here with Isaiah Pacheco. He's unable to avoid the IR. It came back that he has a fractured fibula. He's going to be out from anywhere to 6 to 8 weeks. Sticking with the skill position players here, Cooper Kupp, that ankle injuries come up once again. He was looking like a smash. We talked about it. We had him as one of our must starts going into Sunday. It was a great position for him going up against the Cardinals. That defense gives it up a little bit. He has a great rapport with Matt Stafford. You saw the 21 targets before in week 1 after Puka went down. But Cooper Kupp, he's the next guy to go down. You got to think the Rams are starting to panic a little bit. Matthew Stafford, not going to have a lot of help, in terms of protection. He's already down a couple of linemen, already looking bad there for the Rams heading into week 3. So if you're an owner of any part of that offense, got to be shaking a little bit, but there are some, replacements to think about. Shout out everybody here that's with me in the chat, Josh and Alan, Saquon. Shoot, he's clutch, but last night was a sad story when you think about it. He was 1 yard short from scoring a touchdown. I think he still pointed out, if you're just talking about PPR, I think he still hit value, but could have been a massive night. And then he had that drop there on 4th down. But anyways, Saquon has been a smash to start the year, so no disappointments there. And Alan, Kareem Hunt, we're going to talk about him a little bit later. Might be someone to look at. I know they got another running back there. I guess the incumbent, if you will, in Steele and Samaje Perine. We're going to talk about that backfield here in a little bit. But thank you guys for being here with us. Isaiah Pacheco is out 6 to 8 weeks. Interesting situation developing there in KC in that backfield. And then the last injury, we haven't talked about it on the far right, is Deebo Samuel. He popped up with the calf strain there against the Vikings. He's another guy with a couple of weeks quotations, and that's straight from the coach's mouth. They didn't put him on the IR yet. Again, I think that's a good sign. It's a calf strain, kind of. I don't know how similar it is to the calf that CMC is dealing with, but a couple of weeks, anywhere from 2 to 3. It's not 4 weeks. It's not the IR. So, worse things can be happening. So, but needless to say, it's an important week for waivers. We're going to kind of try and sift through some of it because with these first couple of guys, it's obvious, right? Cooper Kupp is down. Puka went down. No real other options other than Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Whittington, a rookie, Tutu Atwell, who's been there a long time, and Tyler Johnson, who they just signed from the Bucks, who was kind of a failed, a draft pick for them. What's up, Mark? Thanks for being here in the chat with us. What's up, everybody that's here in the chat? We're a couple minutes in. If you guys can like and retweet, reshare, whatever you guys want to do, I'd appreciate it. Anyways, Demarcus Robinson, he appears to be the next guy in line. He's a vertical threat. If you want to look at that stat line, 2 receptions for 50 yards on 4 targets, that's exactly what you're going to get from this guy. He might get a little bit more share, if you will, opposed to those 4 targets you see up here on the screen. But he is the vertical threat guy. He is a guy that's going to try and take the top off the offense. He's good in the scramble drill, excuse me. He's good at coming back with Matt Stafford. He's been there a couple of seasons already. I think this is his second season there with LA. So Demarcus Robinson figures to be a good ad. Oh, we got a tag team member. He's jumping in. Justin, what's up, Justin?
Yo, straight out of a barbecue. I'm here. I'm ready.
I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us here. We're just getting started. We're on the first player. We just went through the injury report, and this is one of the, the results of the, the injury Armageddon, if you will, that we've, started out 2 weeks through the start of the NFL season. It's Demarcus Robinson. We were just talking about he's a vertical threat for this offense. He only had 7 points fantasy-wise, but it was just a bad week for the Rams across the board there against Arizona as they got completely shellacked. Go up against San Francisco, who's been kind of giving it up. So you got to like that matchup a little bit. Projected 4 receptions on 7 targets, a little bit increase from what he's used to for about 60 yards, and maybe he hits the end zone and, you hit value. ESPN ownership, he's about 34%. Some people picked him up last week on the Puka Nacua injury news. So his ownership has gone up a little bit. He appears to be, the obvious next guy in line. Justin, are you afraid of this Rams offense altogether unless you have Kyren Williams? Because obviously everyone's going down. The offensive line troubles well documented. Or are you going to try and bid a little bit on Demarcus Robinson just off a need maybe?
Well, I think you almost have to because Matthew Stafford's still back there, and he can spread the ball out. Yeah, 1 and 2 are gone now, so that means there's more mouths to feed. And I think he's going to find that next number 1 coming out. And Demarcus Robinson has the potential to be that guy. So I would buy on him.
Yeah, he's the guy, like you said, he's the next one in line. I think he's the obvious choice if you're looking for, how can I say, the safest floor, right, out of all the receivers that we're going to talk about, because there's a couple other Rams.
You also have Higbee out, too. So you got receiver 1, receiver 2, tight end 1, like, there's got to be someone else to step up, and I think this could be him.
Yeah, and hopefully he steps up. Hopefully Stafford can stay upright, because that's the one thing that kind of scares me. And that's the whole, goes back to the offensive line. I think they're down 2 or 3 starting offensive linemen already, out multiple weeks. So Stafford, you would have expected him to go off against the Cardinals. It was kind of surprising that the Cardinals defensive line looked the way that it did. So that's my only worry, but I agree with you. Demarcus Robinson is definitely worth a bite because you've seen what Stafford can do for these receivers. He's kind of a kingmaker. He makes wide receiver 1s left and right. The next guy, Tyler Johnson. He's not the deep threat. He's a guy that's going to be maybe assuming more of the, the Cooper Kupp role. He's going to be running the in routes, kind of playing more inside, intermediate. Matthew Stafford likes that. Offensive line troubles, maybe, quicker throws. He's not looking to go to the deep route. Tyler Johnson gets a little bit more love. Didn't show out in week 2, but again, it was just a bad week overall. Expected an uptick in volume, only owned 13%. He's a guy that I might want to take a look at because I can see the volume for him because he's the guy that's running those intermediate routes. He's not so much dependent on the deep ball. What say you, Justin, about Tyler Johnson?
I think what you're going to get points if you're in a PPR league, I think that's where you would pick this guy up because of his target rate. I think that's going to go up. Like you mentioned, the deep ball is not going to be there. I think they're going to probably have to rely on Tutu Atwell for the deep ball. Yep. And I'm not sure how much they're going to really even do that. The depth here for receiver with 1 and 2, they have a good 1-2 punch, but without those 2 guys, man, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, starting to get scary for the Rams. I'm a Kyren Williams owner, a little bit off topic, but starting to get a little worried there too. But you got to figure he's going to be in a workhorse role, although, unrelated to the waiver wire. He's on everybody's starting lineup. But we got one more Rams receiver. Going to save it for the end. I think Justin might like the guy that we're going to talk about.
I have a feeling I know who it is.
No giveaways here. So next guy, Best
on.
known for his performance in the Super Bowl, almost Super Bowl MVP. You know, he had a passing touchdown and a receiving touchdown in the last Super Bowl, is Jawan Jennings. He is going to be the beneficiary probably for, Debo going out. They're going to be more, pass heavy with no CMC already, although Jordan Mason has filled right in and pretty well, if I may say so myself. But here's Jennings. We know what he can do. He has good rapport for Purdy. It seems like Purdy likes to look for him every once in a while. He's popping up with a couple catches here and there. He's got the trust of the coaching staff. He's only owned in 1.5% of leagues. He plays the Rams, who they just got killed by the Cardinals. You saw Marvin Harrison Jr. have his breakout game. You saw a couple
Eat
of other
on him.
guys have some success. Are you biting on Jawan Jennings if you don't get Demarcus Robinson?
Yeah, I think that would be your like 1B plan or 1C plan at this point. I think Demarcus Robinson's your 1A, but Jawan Jennings has shown production in big games. And I know there's a divisional game coming up. That's technically a big game in the NFL because those matter for
Yeah,
divisional purposes. And
coming off a loss.
this guy can play. They can't afford to lose again. So especially in the division.
Yeah, and like you said, he's already proven it, and I like his rapport with Purdy. I think he is going to probably hit that 4 receptions at least, and then maybe he comes through with a touchdown, and you're hitting volume. And again, there's been a lot of injuries. I don't think these are any guys like if we're playing Fab here. I don't think it's
Yeah.
any guys that I'm blowing my clip on, in terms of spending most of my budget on any of these guys. Like I'm max on the first 3 guys that we just talked about in terms of Fab, just to touch on that. Just in terms of percentages, maybe 15%, 20%, depending on how desperate I am. Like if I'm a Debo Samuel owner, or if I'm an AJ Brown owner, and or T Higgins, he's another guy that's been out for a while, and you need some help at the receiver position already, then maybe I can see you pushing it up a little bit. But still, these guys aren't any guys that I necessarily think are going to be fantasy winners, at least from this standpoint right now. Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson both have a chance to prove it, but I'm just a little wary overall on all of these guys' ceilings in terms of Fab. So just wanted to touch on that real quick. Any other notes on Jennings here, Justin, before we go to the next guy?
No, let's get to the next one.
All right, let's go. All right, this guy
Big
might
dog.
be my favorite guy on the list. It's just, and the reason why I say that is because for the most part, he was already written off as a bust going into the season. He can't play, he can't catch, he can't earn targets, he can't get open. Well, to answer those questions, first 2 games in terms of target share, 20%, 35%. You see his week 2 stat line: 5 catches, 6 targets, 50 yards for 2 touchdowns. He's that vertical threat, but he's shown that he can do a little bit more now. 22 fantasy points in PPR. Got a shaky matchup against Pitt, but he's projected 4 catches, 6 targets, and 53 yards. Maybe he hits the end zone. Only owns 7%. The hang up with him, of course, is the offense that he's in. Jim Harbaugh, traditional. He's going to want to run the ball, protect his team, rely on the defense. But there's nobody else. I mean, he's competing with Josh Palmer. He's competing with Ladd McConkey. It's wide open for him to, really insert himself and, be the number 1 receiver for Justin Herbert, which sounds pretty valuable to me. What do you think, Justin?
No, I struck out. I tried to get him in the waiver wire this week. There was about 5 other players trying to pick him up. I didn't have priority. I absolutely think this guy's going to eat. When you look at Jim Harbaugh offenses, he likes big receivers on the outside. And the way that his offenses are aligned and set up, they eat. You had Nico at Michigan. He ate. Yeah. And I think it's going to be that way. And Herbert, they're going to limit his, touches. They're going to run heavy, but when it gets to the end zone, they will look for a big target like him. And you can see it, 2 touchdowns this past week. Now, it was the Panthers. Production's not going to be at that level every time. Good point. But his target share is going to be at least around that area. And what he does with it now, we'll see. He stepped up last Sunday. Let's see if he can do it again.
Yeah, definitely like that note. Not every team is going to be the Carolina Panthers. I don't think any team is going to be close to that. But all of your points are well taken, and I agree. I think he's a guy, if he's still there on the waiver wire, only owns 7% of ESPN leagues. got to go out and try and get him.
And they got Pittsburgh this week.
And I still think he might be flying under the radar. I think you can sneak away and not have to blow a big percentage of your fab on him. So I would play it safe. I don't think there's going to be a lot of guys out looking for Quinn and Johnston, but as we highlighted, he's going to have the target share. I know they don't run a lot, but as Justin said, that hardball offense really values a guy like Quinn and Johnston, and he's going to have some opportunities. That offense has shown they can move up and down the field. He's got Justin Herbert. Yeah, there's worse things you can do with your fab. I like Quinn and Johnston, and hopefully, he can sustain this the rest of the year. He's a former first-round pick. First-round receivers do well. Hopefully, he's able to keep this performance up throughout the rest of the season. All right, we're gonna hit on 2 tight ends and then get to some long shots. Tight ends, as you know, it's a common position to punt on if you don't get one of the top guys, but the tight end position has been down in general. The guy that you're looking at right now, I want to say he's a top 5 tight end in terms of PPR scoring. It's Mike Gesicki, Mr. Gritty himself. I'm just kidding. That's Justin Jefferson, but Mike Gesicki's known to get a good gritty in. Week 2 line for the Bengals: 7 catches, 9 targets, 91 yards in a loss, but still 16 fantasy points if you're playing PPR. Got a good matchup. I know it says first for the Washington Commanders against tight ends, but I don't really think they played a good tight end their first 2 games. No disrespect, but that defense in general is just, trash. We saw Neighbors, what he did. He's projected 3 catches, 4 targets, 30 yards, only owned in 3%. Justin, if you have a revolving door at tight end, are you taking a swing at Mike Gesicki this week and maybe going forward, considering, how he's looked the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, you do take the swing because week 1, the NFL ruled that should have been a touchdown. That would have been accredited to him. Last week against the Chiefs, his long 37 yards. He had a reception for 37 yards. So they are using him in the offense. And if you have, not the best tight end situation, you didn't draft tight ends early, and injuries, right? Because all the tight end injuries, you take your shot with Gesicki. I think you probably put up at least 7 to 8 points at minimum with him.
Yeah, no, I like that look. Tight end has just been down in general. We've seen the struggles with Kelsey. He's off to a slow start. Mark Andrews kind of had an uptick last week. What were you going to say, Justin?
I was going to tell you, touchdowns in general are down from the last 5 years to this past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think in week 1 of the last 4 or 5 seasons, there was about average of 100 touchdowns in the NFL. And I think it was in the 60s or less this past week.
Yeah, so through 2 weeks, there's been only 69 passing touchdowns. That's the lowest in 10 years. So, it's crazy. There's obviously a shift in the NFL happening right now. There's been more of a focus on running. A lot of teams are, really deploying, 2 running back sets. We've seen it a lot. So, yeah, there is a little bit of a shift going on. And I agree with what Justin said. I think you got to take a swing at Gesicki. I think it might be sticky in terms of his performance. I think he might be, slotted in for a couple of targets each game, and he's on it. The Bengals look good even though they lost, right? The loss, it's accredited to, honestly, in my eyes, Jamar Chase, but that's a story we can talk about on Sunday.
The flag is what you're saying, or?
Yeah, the flag, the unsportsmanlike conduct. That you can't have that. But they look good though. That offense was moving. I was a little worried about Joe Burrow. I was buying into the clips of him, not being able to grip a Gatorade there on the sideline. But but he looked pretty good against the Chiefs, even though they didn't get that dub. And Mike Gesicki seems to be one of the better targets. And they're already down T. Higgins. Jamar Chase looked decent last week, and they've had another guy show up, Yosavis, who we'll talk about a little bit later too.
Yeah, I want to talk about that kid, Yoshivas, man.
Yeah, Yoshi. There we go. Thank you for the pronunciation. All right, next guy. Shout out to Edgar. I want to say he talked about this on his comment. He is the next guy we're going to talk about. It's Hunter Henry. I feel like we talk about him around this time of the year, every year, because he comes out with a performance, and we're like, damn. Hunter Henry's still there. And can you guess how old Hunter Henry is? Because I was a little surprised when I saw this.
I would say 29.
Wow, you're right on the dot. Okay, I thought he feels like a guy that's been around such a long time. I remember him coming onto the league as Antonio Gates' understudy, and he's just been around a little while. But anyways, sorry to digress. I was just taken aback when I was looking up Hunter Henry to find out he's only 29. But Hunter Henry, week 2 line, 8 receptions, 12 targets, 109 yards, almost 19 fantasy points. He's another top 5 tight end through 2 weeks, or he might be number 6. I know him and Jaceki are. Yeah, he's number 5. Jaseki's number 6 through 2 weeks. He's got a matchup against the Jets. They're ranked 15th. They got a good defense, though, generally speaking. And he's projected for about 3 catches, 5 targets, 35 yards, 9 fantasy points, and 10.3% ownership percentage on ESPN. Justin, do you think this is a performance? I don't think it can necessarily be replicated. 8 catches on 12 targets is pretty nuts, considering who he plays for and just in general. But do you think Hunter Henry is gonna remain a tight end 1 or top 12 tight end throughout the rest of the year, top 10?
I think you get these little sparks where you're like, oh, I gotta pick him up. He's got to be my starter, and then he fails you like 2-3 weeks in a row, and then you kind of like put him back to the bench, and then he shows out again. I think that's the kind of wave you get with a Hunter Henry type.
Yeah, and he's on a bad team that at least what we all thought going into the year, right? I mean,
I'm still learning the team as it is because it's not Bill Belichick anymore.
Yeah.
So a lot of these Patriot players, I'm reluctant to start because I don't know their identity. It's only been 2 weeks and it's a new coach. We know defense is going to be there, but do I really understand that offense? I'm still learning that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, with the quarterback like Jacoby Brissett, he's a good bridge guy. You know what you're getting with Brissett, respectable, but there's obviously a ceiling on what he can do. Now, does that mean maybe he favors the tight end a little bit more? Maybe, but this is still a run-heavy offense. This is still an offense that lacks explosiveness, so they are going to struggle at times. I think there's going to be some ugly games, and I kind of agree with Justin. He's going to pop up every once in a while. But again, I think I like Jaceki more than Hunter Henry because I like the offense more. I want to be on that Bengals offense versus on being on the Patriots offense. If I'm thinking about spending fab or picking anybody up, I'd rather be on that Bengals offense with Jaceki. But again, if you're playing that revolving door at tight end, I think Hunter Henry is always going to be worth a little flyer, on a week-to-week basis. Maybe does he make your roster every week? Maybe, maybe not. You might be able to drop him for somebody else as the season goes along. But in a good matchup, I think he's always going to be worth, putting on your starting lineup every once in a while, for sure. All right. I think that wraps up. Oh, no, we got one more. And this is just off of the Isaiah Pacheco injury. Fibula out 6 to 8 weeks. So this offense is going to be, in terms of the backfield, interesting to see how they shake it out. I was talking about it earlier. P. Ryan, they just signed Hunt. We got this guy, Carson Steele. He was the backup. He kind of earned his way on the team, through the preseason and training camp. Played hard, earned himself a role. I like that he was in the red zone. I like that he got a goal line look in that game against the Bengals. So there's kind of anybody in this backfield that I want to take a shot at. Maybe is going to be Carson Steele. If you're an Isaiah Pacheco owner and you're kind of light at running back, I think you have no other choice but to take a shot at one of these Chiefs running backs that we'll talk about. But week 2, you see a stat line. I mentioned it, though. He did get some good looks to show that, he might have that trust and he might have that role in the red zone. He's projected for almost 11 PPR points. He's got a good matchup against Atlanta, only owned in 2% of ESPN leagues. Justin, is this the Chiefs running back you're taking a bite on, or are you going to pass and wait for one of these other names?
No, I think this is if you're looking short-sighted for this coming week, this is the name you take the bite on for the week. I don't foresee the Chiefs making this guy their primary back. We already seen them pick up Hunt. I think they're going to use Hunt in the future. He knows that offense already. He's been in that offense before. So I think Hunt will be the guy for the future. But for this week, since Steele's been with them, they're going to use him. And they're going to use him to run a lot. Now, when it comes to receiving, they're probably going to go to P. Ryan. That's where they'll use P. Ryan a little more. But I think Carson Steele, for this week, it's a 1-week thing. I don't see it being, 6 to 8 weeks. You're starting him every week. But I think you can take the apple and bite it here this week.
Yeah, the one thing that, and I agree with everything you said, I think this week he's going to get a look. I mean, if he does good, do you see maybe an increased workload for Carson Steele? I mean, maybe assuming more of that Pacheco role. Pacheco was the de facto number one back. I mean, he was getting all the looks running wise. I mean, P. Ryan, I don't think he's logged a carry through 2 weeks. He's only been in there receiving, to your point.
Yes.
So I'm asking the question to say if there's potentially a lucrative role here for Carson Steele long term if he plays his way.
I think they wanted to work out with him because we saw him fumble the ball and they kept him in the game.
Yep.
So it was like, you know what? They're like, this is our guy. We're going to go with him. So there's a chance. I still think it's a little short sighted. I think it'll be mostly this week. Once Hunt gets into the feel of it again, I think it'll be Hunt. But I think there's a chance that, he might be the guy for 6 to 8 weeks, but I'm not going to like hold my breath for it. I think it's really a 1 week boom situation for this coming week.
I feel you definitely understand all those points. And in terms of fab on this guy, again, it all depends on your level of desperation and where you're at on your lineup. If you're a Pacheco owner, obviously, if you're light and you need a starter, you need a floor. Man, I'm thinking if you're a Pacheco owner, I think you got to look at this a little bit more aggressively. I
Mhm.
mean, maybe go 20%, 25%. I caution on suggesting more because, like Justin alluded to, he thinks it's a short term thing. And I kind of agree because once you give a guy like Kareem Hunt a little bit of time, to get his legs under him, I mean, Kareem Hunt might not have any juice left, but maybe,
Yeah, we don't know either.
yeah,
You're right.
exactly. He may not have any juice left. So that's the thing. If Kareem Hunt comes back, he doesn't have juice, then maybe it's Carson Steele. I, I'm not looking at P Ryan. And maybe
Yes, no way.
I'm not looking at P Ryan even in PPR. I think he's capped. Again, he hasn't logged any carries through 2 weeks, even after Pacheco went down, didn't log a carry. So Carson Steele or Kareem Hunt, and like I said, I err on offering you guys to go ahead and put down more, or advising you guys to put down more fab than 20 to 25%. Because if Kareem Hunt comes back, he looks good. They already trust him. I can't see a world where he's not at least 1A 1B in a
Yeah.
backfield, and who knows what's going to happen there.
You never know when he can kick it up a notch. No pun intended.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, I'm just excited for, Xavier Worthy and Rasheed
Rashi
Rice the rest
Rice.
of the year, and see if they go pass heavy. That's the other thing. All right, long shots, and then we're going to get out of here. Don't have anything else after this. I can look up some defenses to stream.
There's my guy
Um,
right there.
but yeah, got 5 long shots. Not going to spend too much time. I'll go through them and I'll let Justin pick a guy that he wants to talk about, and then we'll kind of go through the list real quick and get out of here. We're coming up on 30 minutes. Thank you to everybody that's been with us here. Already about 10 past the hour, 9 o'clock Central Time. Appreciate you guys. All right, long shots. The first one, Kareem Hunt. We
Yes,
talked
sir.
about him a couple times. Almost said his name 3 times in a row. He almost appeared up on the screen like Justin did with me.
Man.
It's Kareem Hunt. He's the guy, he's just been around the past couple off seasons, got him picked up by the Browns, by the Chiefs. He's a good running back, skilled, only owned 2%. I foresee that's going to go up at least 15 to 20% over the next week. I think he's a guy you're going to want to put in a little bit on. Savis, or what's the pronunciation, Justin?
Yoshivas.
Yoshivas, wide receiver for Cincinnati. He had 2 touchdowns last week, only 6% owned. My favorite guy on the list, Braylon Allen, running back, 7% owned, backup there in New York behind Brees Hall. Showed some juice there in week 2. 2 touchdowns, looking good. The next 2, obviously related to injuries. Jordan Whittington, Justin's Texas boy, only owned in 1.3% of leagues. He was a preseason stud, almost had a touchdown, got called back there in week 1 because of holding. And then Jahan Dotson, only owned in 9.2% of leagues. He got traded over to the Eagles from the Commanders in division trade, but he appears to, at least be in line for more targets, although Devonta Smith looked like to be the primary benefactor last night. Justin, out of these 5 long shots, what's the guy you want to spend time talking on real quick?
If I had to just choose one, let's be real. I'm going to choose Yoshivas. You know what? Maybe he didn't get all the targets in the world on Sunday, but he made a lot do with what he got. 2 touchdowns. He's a big 6'3", 6'4" receiver. Is a big target. And in the red zone, without T. Higgins, Burrow's looking for a big guy like that to hit, and he showed it. Yoshivas also has a lot of speed. He's a track guy, so you got to factor that in. I would like to talk about Whittington, but I can't when Yoshi Voss is sitting right there for
Yeah,
me.
hey, we got time, bro. What do you want to say about Whittington?
Whittington is my all-time favorite Texas Longhorn. The guy
Okay,
has a lot of
your
heart.
all-time favorite.
My all-time favorite, Cuero, Texas, baby. Jordan Whittington. No one showed me more heart on the field than Jordan Whittington has ever showed. Every play, he goes hard as hell, whether it's blocking or it's his turn to get the ball. He is like the nucleus of the team. He's the heart of the team. And I'm, happy he's going to finally get a chance. He's still going to be behind two receivers, but you give Jordan Whittington the opportunity, he's going to take as much off of it as he can. So I like the kid a lot. And I'm glad he has a chance. Unfortunately, it's due to all these injuries with Cup and Nakua, but I think he can eat.
Yeah, I was gonna say out of the three receivers that are listed on this screen here for long shots, I would put my money on Jordan Whittington. He's only owned in 1.3% of leagues. And honestly, I know we listed the first two receivers that are thought to be in line, right? Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson. But let's face it, both of those guys at the end of the day are unproven commodities, just like Jordan Whittington. We see rookie receivers come in the league and have success all the time. I mean, Puka Nakua just came through there last year, not comparing him to that. And of course, a lot of this is contingent on Stafford being able to stay upright. But if you're going to take a shot on a Rams receiver, you're not super desperate, you have some room on your bench, I would spend a little bit on Witt. I think he's worth the look. They've already week one. He almost had a
He
touchdown.
almost it got took him back because of a hold.
He was on that end around in the red zone, money situation. There's already trust there. Yeah. I have a sneaky suspicion that Whittington, if
let it be, Roland, let it be.
If Stafford again is able to stay healthy, this Rams team is able to stay, playing 500 ball at least. Like I'm just saying, the wheels don't fall off, right? Because if the wheels fall off, then you're just going to be playing hoping for garbage time ball. But I think Whittington is definitely worth a little bit of change if you're playing fab ball. Try and sneak him through because I don't think a lot of guys are going to be trying to go for him. There's a lot of other immediate needs, I think, that might need to be taken care of. But, yeah, I think Whittington, definitely worth a look. The other guy I want to spend time on, and I think he is one of the next in line guys. There's an article that I like to read from a fantasy football podcast that I follow. It's called Next in Line. Pretty much dudes that are just one injury away from being an absolute stud, and that's Braylon Allen, right? I talked about it a little bit right now. He's only owned 7%. Look, I fully acknowledge he's behind a workhorse, but he's only owned in 7% of leagues. At the very least, if you're a Breece Hall owner, you need to own this guy because you saw Breece Hall. He went down with a little thigh injury, and immediately Braylon Allen came in and was a stud. He even scored on a play where he was on the field with Breece Hall at the same time. So he's going to be involved in this offense. He's already shown that he has juice like for days. Like I think the New York Jets might have struck gold and they might have thunder and lightning in that backfield. Maybe I'm just, being a prisoner of the moment and just seeing what I saw last week. But I like Braylon Allen. At the very least, you got to try and stash him because who knows what's going to happen with Breece Hall. Workhorses, they get nicks and knacks all the time. Braylon Allen could be in line for a smash spot. You just never know. So what do you think about Braylon Allen? Do you think he's worth, a stash, or are you just going to, kind of wait it out and see what happens in that backfield?
Man, you know what? He's a workhorse himself. Rolling 3 years at Wisconsin, he had 1,000 yards, 2 out of 3, and he was maybe like 20 yards short his junior year to get 1,000. And Wisconsin backs, they're proven. I mean, They run the ball hard and they get tons and tons of carries. He played in every single game that he was eligible to play at Wisconsin. The kid just needs the opportunity. That's all he needs.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the opportunities might be limited. He's obviously just going to be a change of pace guy. I'm not suggesting you pick him up and put him in your starting lineup. That's going to be a little hard to do, but he's already shown to have the talent. I think that's obvious. I think, again, like I said, I think the Jets might have struck gold. Braylon Allen, he has a bright future, in my opinion. And I think he's a guy that you need a roster. If you're a Breece Hall owner and you don't have Braylon Allen already and he's sitting out there, you got to find a way to go get him because you just don't want to be stuck in that situation because the moment the Breece Hall goes down, knock on wood that he doesn't, because I love Breece Hall. I think he's a stud. I want to see him play the whole season. But Braylon Allen would absolutely smash in that situation. So any other guys you want to talk about before we get out of here? It's 9:15. Again, thanks to everybody that's been with us. Thanks to everybody that's still with us. Always appreciate it. Please like and share as always. Justin, any other guy on this list you want to talk about?
To be honest, I think we touched up on everything that's going to be available in most waiver wires. So you gave us some long shots. You gave them some more, some more realistic things to hit, especially with Carson Steele for this next week. I think everything's covered.
Yeah, no, I think we did a good job. Again, it's just you got to sift through some of this because, again, I'm just going to go back real quick for the guys that are just joining us. First two guys here, Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson. I think you could go that route if you need a floor and you don't want to be burned. But if you have the ability to, maybe wait a little bit and go for a guy like Whittington, spend a little bit less and see what happens there, I think that's got to be the route that you go. Other favorite that we talked about already, Quentin Johnston. I definitely think he's worth a look. Potential wide receiver 1 for the Chargers if that performance is sticky. But yeah, Justin, I think we've done a good job here tonight. Edgar has a request for you. I don't know if he's going to get his wish. It's a little tough. They did win. They did come through for our Survivor. You did switch to them on Sunday morning. They did come through against the Bears and Caleb Williams. So can we get a Go Texans?
We're not going to be able to get a Go Texans because I'm not a Texans fan. They helped me hit a bet. I'm glad about that. The best I can give you is go CJ Stroud. That's the best I can give you.
Yeah, go CJ Stroud and go Nico Collins. Go Nico Collins might be my favorite receiver in the league, not named CeeDee Lamb. Nico Collins is a stud, absolute alpha.
Bro, on Sunday, the way he threw that kid off of him was insane.
Dude, he's a beast, man. Nico Collins got it all there. Superstar in the making in Houston, along with his quarterback. But yeah, it's been a good Tuesday night. This has probably been the busiest waiver wire so far this season. Only appears to get busier as these injuries pile up. Hopefully they stop. It's getting a little hard to deal with all this stuff. I'm not going to lie to you. I have a team with Kupp and Isaiah Pacheco. So I'm feeling it a little bit. Gonna have to, do my homework tonight.
Any chance you saw that ESPN fantasy post where they were showing one of the rosters of one of the players and his whole team besides the defense, because the defense can't be out. Everyone's injured. All his starters.
Yeah, I saw
what
that.
Do you do, man? It is what it is.
That's fantasy football, man. It breaks you. So it's not for the weak. But to everybody, again, that's joined us, always appreciate it. Edgar, I do agree. Andre Johnson vibes for sure. You guys got another one down there in Houston. Jealous of you guys. You guys got a good squad going on. Let's see how this week treats us. Good luck to all of you guys that are putting in your bids. If you're playing Fab or if you're just playing regular waiver wire, hopefully you guys get your guys. Remember, don't always have to go for the obvious guys. There's some long shots here that might help you out, might be able to stash. But yeah, it's We Talking About Sports.